Hi, everyone. As Stacy mentioned, and thank you, Stacy, for that warm introduction, we are Julie and Clara, and we're the co-founders of Tumml, an urban ventures accelerator. So over these last 2 days, we've had the opportunity to have a really engaging conversation about the power of internet and technology to hurt and to help. Today, we want to talk to you about technology for good and the startups that we really see having a positive impact in the cities across the US.
So if you were to walk down a street in San Francisco on a day like today, you might come across some flyers that say things like, tech equals death. And the reason behind this is really a confluence of events that we're experiencing really in cities across the US right now. The first is that 81% of Americans now live in cities, and that number is just projected to keep on growing. And the second is really that municipalities, just in light of the fiscal climate, are no longer really able to provide all of the quality of life services and amenities that make it so great to live in our cities. And you can couple that with a super competitive real estate market and the fact that tech workers, just like everybody else, want to live in cities, and it just so happens that they're often better positioned to compete in this super competitive market right now. And we end up in a position where the tech haves are oftentimes pitted against the tech have-nots. And frankly, people are really pissed off. So what are we looking at here? This is a protester who is trying to take over a shuttle that is taking tech workers who live in San Francisco to their jobs in the suburbs. So clearly, emotions are really running high right now. And there's a general feeling, at least among some, that the presence of technology companies is really driving out a lot of the socioeconomic and cultural diversity that makes cities so special.
In this media maelstrom, it's easy to overlook the startups that are specifically poised to help have a positive impact on our cities. So what are the tech for good startups that we're talking about? This is the next generation of Zipcar and Revolution Foods. They're building consumer and business-facing products and services, and they're tackling some of our most pressing urban challenges, from economic development to mobility to homelessness. And what's interesting about these startups is that they're not just hyper-local, focused on one community. We see their success as the ability to scale from city to city, magnifying their impact. We call them urban impact entrepreneurs, and they're at the vanguard of the Tech for Good movement. So if these urban impact entrepreneurs are so great, why aren't we seeing more of them? Great question. We did some qualitative and quantitative research over at Tumml to look at why we weren't seeing more of these urban impact entrepreneurs around the US. And we found two primary barriers. The first was a capital gap. Even when normalizing for demographic factors, urban impact entrepreneurs were less than half as likely as their more traditional peers to receive seed stage funding. That's a huge gap. And there were a couple of reasons for this. One is capital intensivity. If you're starting the next bike share, you need a whole fleet of bikes. Or you may be working in the new economy, sharing economy space, and investors are looking for more customer traction before they take a risk on you. The second major barrier we saw is a mentorship gap. Urban impact entrepreneurs were nearly twice as likely as their more traditional peers to want access to civic and government leaders. Now, these folks aren't looking to embed their product or service in government. They're not looking to get hired by government, but they need help navigating the legislative and regulatory complexities that come from working in the urban space. So for example, that bike share needs help securing public space permits. Or if you're doing a ride-sharing platform like Lyft or Uber, you're operating in a regulatory gray area.
So it's clear that there are some serious barriers that are standing in the way of urban impact entrepreneurs. And if we really want to see the tech for good space grow, a good place to start would be trying to tackle those two issues that Julie was just talking about. And that's exactly what we're trying to do at Tumml. So as Stacy mentioned, we are an urban ventures accelerator. Our whole mission as a nonprofit is to empower entrepreneurs to solve urban problems. And we do that by searching for urban impact entrepreneurs from around the country and inviting them to come and work out of our offices for about 4 months at a time. We offer them a structured curriculum, and we connect them with mentors who are civic and government leaders from around the country, many of whom are in this room today. And they work very closely with the companies to help make sure that they're developing business models that are super scalable and that work sort of not only in their home community, but that can be replicated in communities across the US. And of course, we also offer them seed funding. So now might be a good time to tell you about some of the amazing urban impact entrepreneurs that we've been working with and who we think, even at a relatively early stage, are making a huge impact in the communities in which they're operating. So many of you may be familiar with Neighborly. Neighborly is a perks-based civic crowdfunding platform. So for example, members of the community could donate money to upgrade a playground in their neighborhood. But what's really exciting to us is that Neighborly is in the process of expanding their offerings to actually allow for crowd investing in municipal bonds so that members of the community can now actually invest in a whole new park system, for example. Another awesome example is Hand Up. You will be hearing from Rose, the founder of Hand Up, in a few minutes, but just to tell you briefly, it is a crowdfunding platform for the homeless and other neighbors in need. Another example?
Valor Water Analytics, basically transforming water utility data into financial and conservation solutions. Obviously a very big issue in places like California where we've been experiencing an extreme drought. We also have, on the next slide, WorkHands, who you will also be hearing from in a little bit, from their co-founder James. And WorkHands is a blue-collar LinkedIn service. They help connect construction workers, machinists, welders with employment opportunities. So as you can see, we're really excited about the future for urban impact entrepreneurship and what these startups have already been able to accomplish in our cities at an early stage. However, in order to create a more robust pipeline, we need your help. These startups need more mentors who can really connect them to civic and government leaders. They also need more investors who are willing to take a risk on them at an early stage, because we really do believe in the power of technology and the internet to save our cities. But in order to have that happen, we need to get more tech for good startups off the ground. Thanks.